Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm going to ask everybody to please stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for attending. As we are here today, this is really one of the first times the Board of County Commissioners have been together in this type of a setting after the aftermath of what we have all seen, what some have experienced. And I think it's only appropriate with the heavy hearts, what we have here and amongst our community, amongst our state, and really amongst our whole nation. I think it's only appropriate for those who choose to take a moment of silence, and however you would choose to do that. So our moment begins. Thank you, everyone. Today's kind of an interesting structure that we have before us here. So we are in what we call and identify as a board work session. This then brings about a little different scenario than some of you might be used to in a true public setting, public forum. In this, we are looking to gain information as a Board of County Commissioners, and more of that is going to be explained by the other commissioners as we go on. But I wanted to let you know that we are here today out of the certainly the reaction to things that are going on, but certainly to be a proactive, create a proactive presence. I think we all have that interest. So there's going to be probably a lot of questions, but in our situation, this is an informal setting, but there's probably going to be a lot of understanding as we go through this. But I'm going to ask Commissioner Thomas to start out with a few comments, then I'll go to Commissioner Layden, and then we'll actually go to the Douglas County School District, our sheriff, and then the board will have some deliberation and discussion. Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Commissioner Partridge. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's here today before us. And I'd like to welcome the school board members and Superintendent Tucker as well. Last week, our community experienced a horrific situation in which a very heroic young man lost his life and other students were injured. And I'm sure that there are many others who will be impacted from what happened last Tuesday for many years to come. And that is why we are here today, because we want to put our money where our hearts are. We recognize that the responsibility of both educating our students and keeping them safe at school is that of the directors of the school district. We are here today offering them $10 million. We want to walk alongside of them. We want to support them in this difficult time and assist them with this one-time funding opportunity to keep our children safe. Douglas County manages your tax dollars very conservatively. And because of that, we have funding available for a time such as this. Additionally, property valuations have increased and the residential assessment rate did not drop as had been expected. So there will be additional property tax revenues available next year that had not been ready. We had not expected that. We will be able to use those funds to backfill the fund balances that we are using now for this offer. In 2014, Douglas County experienced another horrific situation. A young man with mental illness took his mother's life before taking his own. In response to that tragedy, our community vowed that we were going to make a difference and work to solve the gaps in the mental health care system. Over 40 partners came together, and 2 years ago, the Mental Health Initiative program was rolled out. And today, I am here to tell you with certainty that that program has not only saved lives, that it has improved the quality of lives of those struggling with mental illness, as well as those who support them. A critical component of the Mental Health Initiative is the Community Response Team. That is a law enforcement officer paired with a PhD level clinician. That team responds to calls for individuals who are experiencing a mental health crisis. The first team launched in May of 2017, and we are in the process of rolling out our third team. I'm wondering if a community response team could be developed that would only respond to students in the schools. I'd like to tell you that I've had the opportunity to ride with both of those teams. I have seen them in operation, working with people who are experiencing a crisis. And let me tell you, they are productive, they are reassuring, and they are effective. They are making a difference. Our commitment today is based on the success that we have experienced in partnering with other groups and other people to solve our problems. I propose that it's time today to shift our paradigms. It's time to listen to experts, to parents, and to students alike. This is our time without agendas that we can make a positive difference. This board currently partners in funding to the school district to keep our kids safe. The $10 million proposal is an opportunity to continue to find ways to provide security, that students can go to school, they can learn in an environment in which they feel safe. We're here today, we're listening, and we're glad that you're here to join us in making a positive impact for the future for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Layden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Thomas. My name is Abe Layden, and as one of your Douglas County Commissioners, I humbly come before all of you, my fellow citizens, that found yourselves last week saddened, bewildered, and grieving over the tragic school shooting at STEM, the 8 injured students, and the unimaginable loss of 18-year-old Kendrick Castillo. Kendrick was a hero that ran into the danger of incoming bullets, not away, in order to save the lives of his classmates. He will always be remembered in this community as a brave and selfless guardian angel. Fellow citizens, as we mourn together and wrestle with tragedy, I am also ever cognizant that while there was an evil act, there were thousands of acts of courage, heroism, and love that showed up in a moment's notice to protect, heal, care, connect, and rescue. Teachers that courageously protected their kids, students that risked everything to save their classmates, first responders that seamlessly coordinated and secured the scene, countless neighbors, friends, family members, leaders, and ordinary citizens that stepped up and said, "How can I help?" You are the champions that make us proud to be in Douglas County, that made sure that this event, while tragic, was not as horrific as it could have been. To each of you, I say with our deepest gratitude and appreciation, you are the heroes of our community. The night of the shooting, I encountered family after family walking their kids back to their cars where they had parked to pick them up, their faces as blank and bewildered as their children's. And I couldn't help but think of the panic, the pain, the fear, and the sadness that each parent must have felt when they heard that there had been a shooting at their child's school, and how they were going to be able to explain the unexplainable to them when they got home. As I talked with groups of teachers and staff huddling together on the Northridge Rec Center tennis court, I could tell they weren't interested in hearing "I'm sorry," or "what a shame," or "my thoughts are with you." After 20 years of shooting since Columbine, they have heard that all before. This is not why they became teachers. They wanted to know, what are you going to do to protect us and our kids? Please prevent this from happening. Indeed, the voices of the entire community since this last Tuesday have been loud and strong, boiling down to one unmistakable demand: no more. No more. You want action now. After weeks and months and years of talks and studies and investigations and conversations about school security, no more. It is time for real common sense action, and action now. It is not a mystery what happened. A guitar case with guns made it into a school. How do we stop that? Well, today I want you to know that in Douglas County, we hear you. The Board of County Commissioners hears you. I believe that law enforcement hears you. I believe that the Douglas County School Board hears you. Our city councils and mayors from every city and town hear you, and we join you in the chorus of no more. I am sitting in this chair not for the bureaucrats, but for the parents, the teachers, and the citizens. You're tired of watching your leaders follow the same worn script of tragedy, aftermath, press conference, vigil, and then forgetting about what happened or how to fix it until the next tragedy. So weeks before the STEM shooting, I shared my commitment to school safety and what I call the SSM protocol: school resource officers, single or secure point of entry, and metal detectors like we have at airports, courts, and Mile High to see a game or a concert. It's an imperfect solution, but action nonetheless. I do not claim expertise, but with humility and respect, I welcome the voices and ideas of my community as we link arms and explore this further together. So in honor of Kendrick and all of our brave heroes, I am here to say we will not capitulate to evil in Douglas County. Instead, we will come together as a beacon of light in unity and substance in response to not only STEM, but all the others that have come before us since Columbine to say no more. The time for action is now, and we as Douglas County have committed to begin changing this horrible path for our kids that they have been on from this moment onward.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. I would also like to make a point that as it is technically we'll call a work session, it's not something we typically pick up public comment on. But I believe what we will do, we will pretty much wrap up our meeting, but I think there's probably some things people want to say and report. And we certainly as a board, I think many of us in the room would like to hear some of those things. So we are going to hang around for a while afterwards. So I want you to know that. So if we are moving through this to be somewhat quick, it is only so that we can be expeditious in the actions that we take and our roles that we sit. But we certainly will take that opportunity to hear from others. So as we go through, I think there's a couple key components for we, the commissioners, to hear regarding this funding that we're looking at. And part of that is regards to the school district and certain law enforcement. So here with us today is Dr. Tucker, Superintendent, and David Ray, President of the Board of Douglas County School District. Dr. Tucker, Superintendent of the Douglas County School District. Would you please feel free to come forward, and we'd like to share your thoughts, give your comments certainly, and we understand you have been through some pretty tough, difficult times, so we really appreciate you taking the time. But really thank you for caring for our children and doing the yeoman's work that you do.
Well, thank you, commissioners, and thank you for those words of support. As you know, we're continuing to process the events of last week, and our thoughts are certainly with the families and students and staff of STEM, as well as all who have been affected by this tragedy. We are indeed also grateful for this incredible Douglas County community that has just shown an outpouring of support and love as we support our students, for both those who attend STEM as well as for all of our 68,000 students that this has had a ripple effect on. We are grateful certainly to the Douglas County Commissioners for your willingness to walk alongside of us, as certainly we are in the same place as all of you. We have a sense of acting now, and building upon the things that we've already put in place to ensure that our students indeed have a safe and secure environment. We want to continue working together not only with you, but with all our agencies, whether it's our law enforcement agencies, whether it's our mental health providers, whether it's our national experts. We definitely are eager to sit at a table together and continue to have that sense of urgency to make sure, again, that all our children, all our 68,000 students are safe. I also want to thank our superintendent who's here, Dr. Thomas Tucker, who we just hired last summer. Dr. Tucker joined us with that same passion that we all have, and that is how do we make sure that both the internal and external safety of our kids are first and foremost on our minds. So I'm going to, at this time, turn it over to Dr. Tucker with a few other thoughts. But again, thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, President Ray. Commissioners, thanks for the opportunity not only for us as a community to come together, but to talk about partnership, a true partnership. And certainly thank you to the guests, the visitors, our community members here. I still have a heavy heart. As a father, grandfather, and one of the first school district, Douglas County School District responders, along with many other folks from the Douglas County School District who gathered, who descended upon STEM last Tuesday, those thoughts don't leave your mind. But we had to be there for the 1,800 students. And I hope, like Commissioner Layton stated, that not a single school, not a single student would ever have to endure what we saw last Tuesday. There's just no excuse for that. And there aren't any words to really put that tragedy in perspective. But this provides us an opportunity for us to really work together, to have a true partnership with law enforcement, and they are truly committed. With our county commissioners, you're truly committed. With our business community, with our parents, and with our staff. And there's an opportunity for us to put away our partisan politics and work toward our unity of purpose. That's the 68,000 students in our community. And it doesn't matter whether the students attend a neighborhood school or charter school. You witnessed everyone in Douglas County School District join in assisting STEM school. We started down this road of coming together, at least from my perspective, last November, with the passage of 5A and 5B, 5A our mill levy override and 5B our bond. This is enabling us to provide additional counselors to students, to our schools, to meet the social and emotional needs of our students. This wasn't something that became new when I arrived. It was one of the board's top end goals. It was one of the community's top end goals. And it's something, as we move through our strategic planning process as partners, it's being repeated over and over again. To date, today, I can proudly say we've hired 75 of our 80 counselors with the $6 million from 5A. These new counselors will be in place at the beginning of the 2019-20 school year. Because we really know from experience and research, we need to meet our young people when they're young. We need to reach them at an early age. We want to try to ensure that we're giving them the social support that they need. With the passage of 5A, we will have a school counselor for the very first time in every elementary, middle, and high school. At the high school and middle school levels, we're going to reduce the ratio down from 350 or 450 students to one counselor to what the best practices are in the research, which says that one counselor to every 250 students. So I say to our community who assisted us in passing 5A and 5B, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let's talk a little bit about 5B. 5B is helping us to enhance security at each one of our school buildings, regardless of whether it's a neighborhood school or a charter school. 5A, the mill levy override, has been used also at our charter schools and neighborhood schools to hire additional staff if our charter schools decide to do so. But 5B, the bond portion, again, are funds to help enhance security. From the bottom of my heart, I thank the Douglas County School District Board of Education for their guidance on how best to use these taxpayers' dollars, as well as our Mill and Bond Oversight Committee. Today, I'm hopeful that we can continue the great work together, side by side, in unison, as parents, grandparents, and community members, to put each and every one of our 68,000 students first. Folks, we don't have a choice but to do that.
President Ray and Dr. Tucker, thank you very much. We certainly thank you for all the efforts you have been putting in prior to anything occurring last week, because we know you're hard at work and we know your heart, and we know there's sometimes a backlash, but it's not a thankless job. It is a very thankful job for the great work you're doing, and I really will continue to pray for you for what you have in your coming weeks, because I know you've got a big lift. So appreciate you. Thank you.
And commissioners, if I may, we will be having a board meeting as well tomorrow night, and we're doing the exact same thing that all of you are doing, and that's making sure that we provide a forum to hear from our community. So tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we will be doing that as well.
Thank you, President Ray. I would like to call our Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Tony Spurlock, Under Sheriff Holly Kluth, and Sheriff, let's talk about Sheriff's Department, but we know that there are many schools and incorporated, unincorporated, and again, that falls under jurisdiction of the Douglas County School District and other governing bodies, but we know law enforcement here in the county and municipalities are a big part, and I think you're the ones we are looking to as a Board of County Commissioners, because we're all county elected officials, and we represent the county taxpayer dollars. So, Sheriff, I would like to hear what you would like to offer.
Thank you, Commissioner Partridge, and Board of County Commissioners. Thanks for giving us the time, the people, to hear your ideas about funding opportunities. I am very pleased that we have the school board here. I have been working very closely with Thomas Tucker on the very first day he came to Douglas County to start working with him on how we would make the Douglas County schools safe. And so I appreciate the relationship that we have developed as well with the school board on what we can do together. And so I appreciate all of that. I do want to focus right now, and I thank you for the entry on thinking of the kids at STEM. I can tell you, you will hear more. There were some amazing children and teachers at STEM that were doing things to protect others' lives at no regard of their own. And I know there's all kinds of discussion about that very thing, but those are kids that step up and made a decision that an adult shouldn't have to make, and they did it. And I'm very proud of them, and I've had the opportunity, the undersheriff and I have visited many of these kids, and we are very proud that they're going to school here in Douglas County, and they're getting the education here from Douglas County to be adults to take over for all of us. And so I wanted to thank you for those comments, and I wanted to say that. I do want to touch base on some, which I think are very important issues. The $10 million that you're offering to the school to help work together on a security program, I think is something that we can do together when we come together. And I I've talked to Abe a little bit about what your ideas are, and I think that those are workable ideas. I think that we can come together and we can find a way to appropriately use that $10 million and find ways that the other commissioners have made ideas about of what we can do collectively on this one time, and I understand that one time resource. But there's a lot we can do with that would move us into the future. But there's no doubt one of the things that I believe is important, and I have experts on my staff. I have one of them sitting to my left here that has done a lot of study and how we are best using our school resource officers and those officers that are in the schools. And I think that we have to, this is a time to step back and pause and look at what Douglas County School District is. And it's been said before, and Superintendent Tucker has said this thing, and President Ray has said it as well. We have 68,000 kids, okay? There is no city in Douglas County that has that much people as a population as a city. The unincorporated obviously is bigger than that, but think about that, just that, and also think about that many kids under the responsibility of a variety of entities that are charged to make sure that they're properly educated and they're properly taken care of and they're safe while they're learning this education. That is huge for us to look at. That is a large district, something that we need to make sure that we provide appropriate resources for. Now, we have a number of SROs out there. You know, all of our high schools have SROs in it. And I have to tell you that I contemplated a little bit about sharing some of this information, only because it is ever so slightly tipping our hand on how we do and what we do. But I believe after this school year and moving into next school year, there's going to be a completely different plan. So I'm feeling a little comfortable with it. But take this in consideration. Mountain View High School, 2,337 students into high school alone, just in high school. 1,139 students in the middle school. We have one SRO that manages all of that, over 3,000 students. The organization called NASRO, please don't ask me what that all means. It's the National Association of School Resource Officers, I think, but if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Bronner will throw a shoe at me. They say that nationally, 1,000 kids, one SRO. So here we are at just one high school in Douglas County, over 3,000 students in that school, and we're providing safety and security for them through an SRO program with just one SRO. And that, I believe, is not appropriate. I don't believe that that's the way to do it. I think we have an opportunity, and my responsibility as the sheriff is to put resources the very best place that we can, and that is doubling up on those in partnership with the school district, using our school marshal program, is making sure that our schools are safe during that time that these kids are in class. And it is impossible for me to do that with the existing staffing that I have. And we've had this discussion, and we are working closely to move towards a better number to that. But what I think is important that we all think about is that if we can work together and come up with some solutions to add additional school resource officers, take this $10 million and look at programs and projects that will help those school resource officers fulfill their duties, and there's lots of things that can be done with that, to include partnering with the school district and the charter schools on how we can best serve them. I think that makes the difference. I think it's so important that we put our, and as you said, put your money where your heart is, and I agree with that. We need to put our money to where the history of this county will be, and those who will lead us in the future. Those kids that we met the other day at the school that are 17 and 18 years old, the budding adults, and they're going to be out leading this state. They're going to college, they're going to come back, and they're going to do business here. They're going to create businesses here. They're going to run. Maybe they get into government. Maybe they end up a Board of County Commissioner. Maybe they end up the sheriff. But what is important is that we give them the opportunity to do so and make sure that they are safe while they're learning, and so they can fulfill that, where they can get to where they should be. So we can create a history for them. And I think that we have the opportunity to do that. It is so important that we think about all the kids. There's 20,000 of those 60,000 kids that are in high school and junior high. That is a lot of, again, that's a small city spread across this county. And for the majority of it, it's north of Castle Rock and through the entire county. So I think we have the opportunity. I appreciate you coming together with this $10 million that we can work on together. I believe there's more we can do. I believe that there is things that we can come up and sit down and say, how do we best use this? How do we take this money and make all of those schools? I think there's 120 some schools collectively throughout the county. How do we use that the best way? And I've urged everyone that yes, and I'm glad that it was said before, we need to put our politics aside, and that's hard. Look where we're at. We're in the middle of a building that thrives on politics. But I thank you for being able to say, here's something that we can do, and this is what we're going to talk about today. Today is what we're talking about is providing safety for our schools, partnerships with the school district, partnerships with law enforcement. I have met and spoken with the 3 chiefs of police in Douglas County, Lone Tree, Castle Rock, and Parker. They're in agreement and working side by side with us on how we can do very best together as partners to save all of the schools in the sense of whenever there's a tragedy, we all come together. So we work together, we plan together, and they're in complete support of us coming together with this 10 million and how we would best use it in the future for school safety in the buildings. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, I think another conversation that we will probably have in the future here is how we come about adding additional SROs to those schools where we believe it's very necessary, and how we can find ways to fund those through a number of initiatives. I appreciate, I think this is wonderful that Douglas County is blessed and has the ability to tap into this revenue. And I think that we have opportunities working together to make some future decisions to help us with the school resource officers. Finally, I want to say that I think the key for us on this $10 million is putting together the experts. I believe we have the experts in this county to utilize. You know, the experts of the school district and the superintendent and their staff on what is best to do for each one of their buildings. The same way with my staff. I have experts in my facility, my office, that understand, have been to trainings, and know what the trending experts are talking about and what are the things that we can do that are being used all across the state of Colorado and all across this country on making sure that our schools are safe and utilizing the SRO program to its optimum. So I hope that we get to do that. I encourage as many people to come up, and I agree this is a little different. I've talked to a lot of people that say, hey, this is not normal. This is a work session, so the Board of County Commissioners may make a decision here on doing something for the future, and then I hope that citizens come up and speak what their mind is and in support of this. Obviously, I'm urging that, and also give their ideas. There might be an expert or two in the audience that's behind me that we might be able to tap into to help us along our way. So thank you. I appreciate the time that you've given us and the opportunity for me to address you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I think there's probably a few things that I'll just mention as we go through. I really appreciate the comments. I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about the 68,000 students. And we, as the county commissioner, knows that's about a quarter of our population. And as we, as the overseers of the county taxpayer dollars, we see the importance, because even though those individuals are underage for some rights, we believe they do have the right to certainly have that safety and security. We really appreciate everybody coming together. Make a little comment, just explain what one-time funding is, because you hear what, for us, we can understand what one-time funding, but one-time funding is usually something that you typically will appropriate to basically non-personnel. That may be capital, may be equipment, but it is not something that is ongoing. And that's what we have the ability here, because we have had this discussion that we think we can come up with these funds. Well, we believe we can come up with these funds through, we really believe a lot of community support on how we use these, even though it is not technically the jurisdiction of the Board of County Commissioners on school safety. We believe we are a supporting factor in here. And again, we really appreciate the school district and their comments, because we're fully behind them, not just because they're the school district, but because we have kids, grandkids, and teachers in those schools that really matter to us. I also want to just recognize, thank you, Sheriff, for representing all law enforcement, because I know we do have the other jurisdictions here, and we also have the leaders from those jurisdictions that are somewhere in the audience, and I really want to thank them for being here, because they are a big key and component. And a lot of the schools are incorporated, but it's here in Douglas County, we work as a whole partnership. In fact, we have a group that we call the Partnership of Governments, with a lot of counties and a lot in the state don't realize how well we work and partner together, and I think that's another reason we are here today, is to show that we really value that partnership. But who values it most? I believe it's you, the public, that cares that we all get along for the right reasons. And this is going to be a challenge for us going forward. These are funds that will be under the direction of the county commissioners. But we are going to be seeking from subject matter experts. And I imagine it's going to be a pretty tight group of subject matter experts. But we have this decision before us before we can appropriate this. This is why we have to do this today. If we do move forward with anything, we have to do it a couple weeks in advance of the May 28th meeting that we are looking at on a supplemental budget. So we will be seeking advice from all, and especially the subject matter experts, as to what is the most appropriate place to appropriate these funds as it goes forward. And as it was said, this is for all public school students. The funds that we receive from taxpayers are to be used for a public benefit, so that's where we'll have to direct those. Okay, Matt, could I ask for a few other comments, and we can certainly go into more deliberation and action, but a few other comments from the other commissioners.
Well, thank you for that, Chairman. And again, incredible appreciation to the law enforcement community, the school board, our educators, and all of our partners. I think part of today is meant to be hope, encouragement, collaboration with all of our community, and that welcoming voice. I also wanted to emphasize the importance of SROs and the need to have folks that are specifically trained within the school to make sure that they are there. I know there's been some talk about a SOS, safety on-site specialist, obviously officers that are specifically trained to handle issues inside of a school. So I just want to make that a comment. I think the other important comment too that I'm not sure we've fully heard this last week, there is a very important voice in this community that this Board of County Commissioners wants to be sure and include, and that's the voice of the students of STEM. No matter who is involved in our community collaboration and in that conversation, it would be an error for us not to include those specific students and make sure that their voices are part of this conversation and they can share what happened and where they'd like to go, as opposed to adults just talking to them and at them.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Layden, and I would like to invite all students, not just the ones from STEM who might be here today and wanting to speak with us. And again, I think that this offer that we have discussed for the $10 million is to think outside the box and maybe not just do the same things that have happened over and over. I'm wondering if there is a new class of personnel in the schools that could be developed, that we find out what are the skill set that need to be effective in the schools. And then we hire and train that class of people. And perhaps that group going to that model would allow the school district to fund even more people available in the schools, as opposed to highly trained police officers who know how to investigate a burglary and write an affidavit and drive a police car fast. Are those really skills we need to have in our school district. So I would like to not just expect to do the same thing we've always done, but to expand the conversation and find better ways that we can serve the children in our school. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what all the people here that have taken time out of their day to come talk to us, what they have to say. So again, thank you for all of you being here.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just a comment on personnel. No doubt that is it's not really part of our look for this 10 million, but I think that's going to be an ongoing thing we'll look at in cooperation with the other government jurisdictions and certainly the school district, because it's obvious personnel make the difference. But I think anybody knows personnel is one of the most difficult costs, whether it's in government, whether it's in business, you have to deal with. And it's not an easy decision, but I think there's that support there that it is additional personnel needed to give a more secure school system. So I really don't have any other further comments. I think we know what's before us. So I'm going to ask if there's any action any commissioner would like to offer.
Mr. Chair, I would echo your sentiments and those of Commissioner Thomas that this board must put their money where their hearts are. So I will make a motion to direct staff to prepare a supplemental budget item for May 28th, 2019 at 2:30 to set aside $10 million in one-time funding for physical entryway security technology and mental health services for children, specifically a community response team for kids in schools, with the option to consider safety on-site specialists, specifically trained school resource officers dedicated solely to school security.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second to move forward some action to our May 28th meeting. Is there any further discussion, deliberation? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's a unanimous decision. We will have this brought forward. So County Manager Doug DeBoard will work with staff and legal on bringing that forward to us. And I know our staff will be diligently working. And in the meantime, I know we're going to continue to have conversations with all law enforcement and even school district and certainly all public at large. So as we come to end this meeting, I'm going to ask that those who believe in prayer and the power of prayer, I'm going to ask you to continue to offer your prayers to those, the Castilla family and the victims and all those who are involved with this. And certainly we're so thankful for the many that risk life and limb. But I ask you to continue your prayers for those in that situation. So we will conclude this meeting. I'm not going to hit the gavel. I think we're all there. At this time, I believe we would really like to hear from anyone in the public. Now, a lot of times what we do, we have a structured situation in public hearing. We're not here to have a grand structure, but we certainly always like to have civility amongst us. And as I try to, in our conversations prior to this meeting, we tried to make sure everybody was brief to a degree. We got the meeting done in about 45 minutes, which is pretty good timing when you think about it, but our time does not underscore the importance of what we're all facing. But I will ask that if you do approach the lectern, just the center podium here, the microphone pretty well picks up everything, so you just have to stand at a comfortable position. And if you would state your name, and you don't necessarily have to spell your last name, but if you'd state your name and your place of residence, that always gives us an understanding. We always appreciate that. And feel free to speak. I realize we are sitting up here, and it's always a little bit of overwhelming, but just think what it's like on our side over here. So feel free to speak from your heart, and we would like to hear from you. So if anybody would like to start, we will welcome that, and we are here to listen.
Hey, my name is Madison Short, 3964 Pecos Trail, Slightly Castle. Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. It is an honor to be here today, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak in front of you. I'm here today for one reason and one reason only. I do not feel safe at my school. My friends do not feel safe at school. My peers do not feel safe at school. Starting in kindergarten, we have been taught that when a shooter enters our school, we are to lock the doors, turn off the lights, hide, and pray that the shooter does not come near or into our classroom. Or if they do, we are all dead. 5 and 6-year-olds aren't just learning basic math, reading, and social skills, but a step-by-step on how to not get killed if someone enters your school trying. That is absolutely heartbreaking. For several years, after an increasing amount of shootings and lives lost, still nothing has been done in our district to keep our students safe. We have security guards and school resource officers, but if a school shooter came into our school, our security guards are unarmed and would have to kill themselves to save the rest of us. And our school resource officer, who is shared with another school, would just maybe be at our school. And if he wasn't, it would be several minutes before he could get to us. You know how many people someone can kill in a few minutes? A lot more students than we can afford to lose. 0 is enough. 1, Hendrick Cancio is far too many. This cannot happen again. Also, though it may seem like it, physical safety is not the only factor in stopping school shootings. In fact, these days, it may be secondary to mental health. In the past several years, there has been an increase in depression, suicide, and the main punchline of the average teen being something about how much they want to die. These kids are hurting and need help. They need that help before they snap and kill their classmates. I thank you for trying to provide that hope. Not much has changed in years, and because we live in an upper-class area, we have thought we were safe. But what happened on Tuesday shows just how much a change needs to happen. It can be any Douglas County school next. It could be my friends and I who are the next to die. We are not safe in our schools as they are, so I thank you for coming here today and doing what you can to make this right, to help save our lives. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. One thing I did want to make note, even though we're not a formal structure, we certainly want to be respectful. And if you've ever given public comment, sometimes it can go very long to you, sometimes feel very short, but we want to be respectful to all. So we are actually just going to run a timer. It doesn't mean you can only speak 3 minutes. You can speak for 45 seconds. We appreciate that. But if it's going more than 3 minutes, I would just kindly ask you to kind of wrap up your formative statements.
Hi, my name is Ed Yates, and I wear a lot of hats. One of them is in Northwest Douglas County. I'm chairperson of One Roxborough, who all of you visit, and we appreciate it. We see you out there. One of the main topics is school safety out there. The main reason is that Roxborough is one of 4 outlying areas that if there was a scene at that school, it could be disastrous because of the farness it is away to the outcome. It could be a real disaster. So, speaking for that, also, I'm chairperson of the Public Safety Advisory Committee, which is called PSAC. 1996, PSAC formed, and we're going strong to this day. We have a justice center and a whole lot of other things because of that. PSAC came up we have been discussing school security, school safety for a whole long time. And the day after the Parkland shooting, we were having a meeting. It snowed, we got snowed out. And we sat around talking about this. So we formed a subcommittee. And that subcommittee has since gone to be a special issues committee, and it's called the Keep Our Douglas County Schools Safe. And we feel like we have a plan that is legitimate. We propose this plan to many mothers and dads all over the schools all over the county. 99% of the time, it's a no-brainer. Why aren't we doing this? It's a no-brainer. This money's going away, and we could capture it to get school resource officers and to create a foundation of schools. We're sad that we've met resistance from the commissioners. It took 400 days to get in front of you. We gave you our presentation. We hadn't heard anything from you. So here's what we'd like to ask you guys to do. We would like to ask you guys to consider having a formal session in the evening where folks can come and really get to the point on our program, which we feel is a legitimate program that is going to put a robust SRO program in our schools. So do us a favor, and if you really want to all work together, you know, everybody was talking up here, but I didn't hear the word residents. We're a large part of this. Residents are a large part of this. So while y'all are all talking, don't leave us out. Thank you.
That's great. Hi, Commissioners. My name is Anastasia Hadwiger, and I am a parent of 2 students in Douglas County. One's a senior, and one is in 8th grade at Sagewood. And I am here not only representing, of course, the parents, but I'm so proud of Megan for you getting up here and speaking on behalf of the students, because what I hear from my kids is that they're scared. And that is something, when we had the threat a few weeks ago of the girl that was, out on a raid, she was going to come to a school and shoot it up. I mean, all of us as parents were freaking out. We didn't know what to do. It's very scary. Our kids are vulnerable. And I think that's what I feel is, how do we tighten this up so our children are not vulnerable? There are so many things. We have a Facebook page where 1,300 people have joined in just a few days, and they have voiced their opinions of what should happen, whether there's guns in schools or it's a gun-free zone. It's really not about any of that, but it is about protecting our children and coming up with a viable solution that we know our schools are protected. The doors, whatever it is, the back doors. I go to my son's school, and we can get in those doors. We go out. I went to set up an obstacle course, and I was able to get in there free and clear. They didn't check me. I come in the front, I'm buzzed in, and the security guard is there, and he asks me for my ID, but he doesn't check my bags. He doesn't look at anything. And I could have brought anything in, and I know that through, the guns got in through a guitar case. I could walk in. I've heard stories of people coming in with rifle written on the bag, and no one did anything about it. So these are problems. There is a major, major problem and a breakdown in the security of our schools. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I know that the money that you have, $10 million, in my mind, does not sound like enough. I mean, I'm a taxpayer, and I know everyone in here is a taxpayer, and $10 million, yes, I mean, it's a great one-time thing, but this is an ongoing issue. This is not just gonna cover a year. We have this ongoing issue for years to come, and for generations to come. We want to protect our children, and we need to get something in place to stop the bleeding, so to speak. This is a Band-Aid. Yes, there's a much deeper issue to what's going on with mental illness and bullying and all these things, and I think SROs and people that can come in that are educated that could really work with the student. That I love, the fact that we do have counselors coming in to work with the students and talk with them. It's a much deeper issue, why these kids are wanting to harm their peer students or anyone that would want to come in and come to our children that are so vulnerable. But I thank you for the time to speak, and I'm asking, yes, that we have more time to come and meet together with parents that can come after work and speak their mind. But I also believe that there are funds that are available, because I just know that there's more money that we could utilize to really make our schools secure. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Nelson, and I live in Parker, Colorado, a great town. I can't believe that last time we met was just 8 days before the shooting. And I want to thank you so much for meeting with our group, Keep Our Douglas County Schools Safe, in which we spent an hour and a half of your time, thank you, in talking about this very issue. So just to think about 8 days later, this incident happened, I think we're all just shocked and horrified. What we're asking of you today is really one simple thing. That is, on your 28th meeting, put on the agenda our proposal. Let the folks come in the evening, hear our proposal, and please then at that point make a decision to put our proposal on the ballot or not. That's up to you. But what we're missing here is one key component. We have the county, we have the school district. There's also the people, the people's sales tax. Every county is authorized to have a 1% sales tax, and the people get to decide what that should be used for. In the past, we funded the Justice Center and a lot of capital programs for the Sheriff's Department through that program. That decision was made by the people. We have a 0.13% that is sunsetting, ending the end of 2020. It's up to the people to decide how to use that. Give them the opportunity to act. Give them the opportunity to take action on the ballot. Mark, yes, we are going to have a commitment of ongoing money to a school safety fund program to fully fund a fully staffed, robust school resource officer program throughout the county. I live in Parker. I have a daughter who goes to Legend High School, not in the town of Parker. They're not protected by the sheriff's, but by the Parker Police Department. We have parents who go to Castle Rock. We have parents in Lone Tree. They deserve a portion of their sales tax that they pay to come back to benefit them in a way they decide to utilize it. Give them the opportunity to make that decision. I also have a wife. We also have 8,100 employees. The largest employer of the county is our school teachers and staff. My wife is a school teacher. I'd like to keep her safe too. The most important people in my life are in these schools. I like to have a school resource officer fully staffed, fully robust in our schools. I think we could do that in our Douglas County. I believe that the best answer to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy or gal like Lieutenant Bronner, who's trained and has the training to respond to those circumstances. Not within minutes, but within seconds. So I ask you to put this on your agenda for the 28th. Formally on the agenda so you can hear from the parents about our proposal. We're the ones who created this flyer for everybody. We've been working on this for over a year. This is not a knee-jerk reaction committee. We've been studying this for quite some time. I believe in the words of Andrew Pollock, whose daughter Meadow was killed in Parkland, Florida. We can fix this. We can come together. There's no excuse why we can't fix this. We can do it. We have an idea. We have a plan. The people, their sales tax, let them decide if they should use it or not. Give them the vote. Thank you.
I would just like to make a comment, and I do not want to take the wind at anybody's sails, but it's not common for us, because I do ask for civility, that we do not have public outburst. Now, this is certainly your time, but I would like to just have the ability for people to speak, because we certainly, it may not be something you agree with, we certainly can't get out of hand. So I appreciate civility. That's all I will say. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Cameron Schrader. I live in Parker, Colorado. I've been there since '94. I went through kindergarten all the way through high school in Douglas County Schools. The last 9 months of my life have been spent in a courtroom battling for my son's custody on decision-making for where he goes to school. I picked Douglas County. It raised me, it turned me into the man I am, and it was the ultimate choice. I find myself backpedaling because I'm scared. I'm nervous. I stand with Sheriff Spurlock and his suggestions with all these SROs and these ideas, and I think it's something we really need to expand on and get deep in. I find it very hard that my kindergartner's been placed on lockdown 3 times this year. It's a scary thing for a parent. It breaks my heart. It's not where I grew up. It can be. It definitely can be. But we need to take steps. I thank you for the $10 million. I think that's a great start. But again, I think it's a Band-Aid. I think we need long-term solutions. We need to give this gentleman the resources for SROs, for these gentlemen right here to protect our children. They are our future. They're the next generation. There's no reason they can't be safe. There's no reason my kindergartner should go to PE and then be training 10 minutes later how to hide from someone with a gun. It's unacceptable. It's scary. Something else I want to address is I'm all for the metal detector ideas. I think that's a great idea. My concern is we've got a lot of public schools that have outlets. They have classrooms outside of the school. Metal detector can only go so far. An SRO can respond to those. I think that's very important to think about. Something outside the box that we can come together and get a plan for. It's very important to me that my son does go to Douglas County because I know the kind of schools that they are, but it's also very important to me that my son is safe, and I will do anything for him to be safe. Anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, friends. My name is Andy Jones. I'm a longtime resident of Highlands Ranch. I'm a retired Navy captain and an Iraq War veteran. I'm a dad, and I have been a volunteer in Douglas County Schools for more than 15 years. I'm a pilot for United Airlines and a deputized federal law enforcement officer. I applaud you for the $10 million one-time allocation of funds. But I rise in support of placing the 0.13% of the Douglas County sales tax on the November ballot for the sole purpose of funding law enforcement officers in schools. Thank you for your time. My name is Andy Jones, and I look forward to future conversations with the three of you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Brooke Brooks. I'm a parent of 2 sons. My husband and I moved here 6 years ago from New York, and we live in Parker. I think everybody here is saying the same thing, that there needs to be change. I think for parents, when we speak to one another, it's not happening quickly enough. There have been enough shootings in Colorado, in Douglas County, enough children who have been terrorized, that we can't keep having this conversation. What can we do? Let's get the experts. Let's meet with everybody. It's too much now. Let's just make a real change that our children can feel every single day when they go to school. They know they're safe. They can see it if there's a law enforcement officer there. They can feel it if there's a metal detector. But we came from New York. After 9/11, instantly things changed. It wasn't a discussion. It was right now. For the citizens of this city, for our country, immediately things changed. Why are we still having this conversation? I appreciate this time, but there's no more to talk about. Let's just put the officers in our classrooms, in our schools to protect the kids. It's really frustrating that, like another mother said, we had one woman with one gun who came from Miami. She threatened all of the children in the Denver area. All the schools were shut down, and thank God nobody was hurt, and she clearly had mental issues. A few weeks later, we have a boy lose his life because he felt the need to protect himself, his classmates, and now his parents are suffering. We can't just stand by and keep having these conversations. I appreciate the $10 million. I think we're all in agreement it's not enough. And I think tomorrow, the next day, let our children see something concrete change. They deserve that. And nobody here is doing their job, not myself, not you, unless we make that change immediately. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's Noah Buckley. I recently transferred to online school because, well, obviously the issues. But what I'd like to say is that although gun safety and everything is a huge issue, I feel that most students agree that mental health is the key cause. And me and my mom back there would like to propose an idea of a club sort of thing in all schools where students could come and feel safe to share what they're feeling. Because as a teenager, sometimes I feel really, uncomfortable speaking with, like a school counselor. But if they're talking to their peers in a safe environment where people could really express themselves and get help, it'll really be good. And we could tie it into like safe to tell, like anonymously tell. If, for example, that someone is showing signs of wanting to hurt or showing violence, we could tell that, tell the people running the program, and we could really help them out, because I feel like we need to stop what's going inside their head instead of their actions. Obviously, suicide and self-harm and everything of that nature has become an issue in our community and for kids my age. And I feel like something of this manner would really help not only kids like me who have struggled with thoughts like that before, but other kids who are struggling to tell people. Thank you.
And let me just say thank you so much for spending your time with us here today and sharing your good ideas. We really appreciate that.
Good afternoon. My name is Caroline Cooley. I'm a resident of Douglas County. I have 5 kids at Skyview Academy. I am a military brat, and I spent time in Egypt and Turkey as a student in junior high and high school. So while I'm not a big expert, I am an expert on security as a student where there is an active security threat every day. For me, for my students at Skyview, one of the reasons I put them there, I'm always security conscious. There's a reason why my office is in downtown Castle Rock rather than in downtown Denver. I'm always very concerned at all times about my security because I used to have to go to school in a bulletproof car. So what my concern for all the students here is they do need to feel safe. The gentleman that just spoke about the group, good idea for a group. Skyview already has that. It's the lunch bunch group, where kids are maybe having concerns about having friends. They have a place they can go during lunch, and this is at the elementary school level. But as you guys said, that's where it needs to start, with the younger kids, and then grow them up. The schools that I went to had a single point of entry. They had ID cards. ID cards are required. One of the things, my paralegal and I were speaking earlier today about a lot of kids who are going off campus, and they're allowed to go from school to school to school, you know, sharing around, and kids are coming by because they can leave campus for lunch. The idea of once you're in school, you stay safe. Again, school needs to be safe where they are, keeping them secure, single point of entry, ID cards, use them. Yes, ID the parents. For those that have had back doors unlocked, I've had the same thing happen. We get a little laissez-faire because we're feeling safe, and then a bad incident happens, then you're feeling not safe. But if we understand that security is not a bad thing, security is there to keep us safe. SROs, absolutely. They are well trained. They are trained to deal with children and with their mental health issues and how to have law enforcement with kids partnered, that it's not a bad guy cop, it's actually someone they can talk to and trust and speak with. And because those SROs are in schools, they know how to read the kids and see, wait a minute, you know, John Smith over here, he's acting a little different than he used to. Maybe there's something going on, we need to talk, we need to chat. But the goal is to keep these kids safe. And I'm certainly not an expert, but if anyone wants to know what it was like to, you know, to be in an extremely, extremely secure school and how they kept threats out of the school, I can let you know what we did. Certainly you wouldn't expect that in Douglas County, Colorado. There's a reason I live here, but I want to keep my 5 kids safe. I want to keep the 60,000 other kids that are in Douglas County safe. Everyone deserves to graduate. Everyone deserves to have a future and to be able to be a contribution to society rather than a detriment to society. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Goldman. I live in Roxborough. My children attended Roxborough Elementary and Primary before they went on to STEM. We were founding parents of the school. I was a board member for 2 years at the transition between the original founders and the current administration, who I think are brilliant in their work, in their ability to turn what was a school on a death spiral, to use the terms of the Colorado Charter School organization, into a school that is highly performing by all measures. I don't come here to talk about the wonderful school that my son graduated from 2 years ago, or that my daughter is a freshman at today. Instead, I'd like to recommend a suggestion, a small amount to be set aside from the $10 million for a program that I led, part of a national organization called Watchdogs, when my children were in elementary school, that brings together fathers and father figures to participate, ideally 1 day per year at the school, putting an extra set of eyes in the school, someone walking the grounds to make sure that the back doors aren't left unlocked, propped open, or not locked securely after recess. I would participate a couple days a year. Roxborough, we typically did get about 70% of the school year covered with at least one dad, if not multiples. The cost of the program is the cost of a pizza night for the community. Bring together about 100 dads and their kids to see a short video about the program. These are not armed guards. These are not necessarily even a supplement to the work that our official security provides. But it is an extra set of eyes, walking the hallways, walking around the grounds, participating in the child's education. This was often my favorite day of the year. It was the favorite day of my daughter and son when they were in school. Dads come into school to play at recess and take part in specials. Hopefully it's recess. Sit down and eat lunch and just be part of the community. So it strengthens the community, which I think has immeasurable value to the problems that we're seeing right now. a small investment per elementary school, $500, $1,000 per school one time times 80 elementary schools. I'm not sure of the math. But I am suggesting that. I'd be glad to help participate. Like I said, I helped lead the program at Roxborough for several years, and I'm in communication with the organizers of the program based out of Arkansas. I believe well over 1,000 schools participate in the program nationwide. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jen Shocker and I'm from Highlands Ranch. I moved here from Washington, D.C. 5 years ago, where I implemented security solutions for military and defense clients. So I've been following school security for the past decade. But I'm also here as the parent of a scared 8-year-old who goes to a charter school. He has been waking up every night since Tuesday with nightmares. Metal detectors. It's what I keep hearing about a lot this week. And I sympathize with wanting to do something, and I appreciate the problem-solving initiative. But metal detectors aren't the answer. Think about what you're implying. Either A, the student has gone through the metal detector hundreds of times, will think he can trick it and attempt to bring a gun to school anyway, through the detector, right in front of the security guard, or B, a metal detector is a deterrent. Yes, a deterrent to motivate the student to find another way to get the gun in the school, away from the main entrance where staff are watching for suspicious behavior. Since Sandy Hook, schools have spent about $5 billion in security measures, yet school shootings have become deadlier, according to the CDC. Various studies have shown that metal detectors are not an effective means of preventing mass shootings at schools. However, one study did show that metal detectors reduce the number of firearms in urban school environments with high levels of gang violence. Please keep in mind that gang violence shootings in schools are contextually distinct from active shooter mass killings at schools. The motivations and planning are different. So the effectiveness of the metal detectors for preventing gang violence shouldn't be applied to our situation. In Red Lake, Minnesota, a student killed 9 people, including a security guard who was manning the metal detector. If someone is intent upon killing, they will put anyone in their way, and a metal detector will not stop them. Metal detectors do not prevent the shooting at the playground, in the parking lot, or elsewhere outside of the building. Even a well-run school metal detector program is not 100% foolproof. Any security technology is only effective as the human element behind the equipment. 3D printed guns are made of plastic and will not be detected. A metal detector would require a completely closed campus, something that doesn't currently exist at our schools. Also, the bottleneck created by a metal detector at the entrance could create a situation where our students are sitting ducks, an easy target. Even with a metal detector at the main entrance, a student could stash a gun near the school, bring it in another entrance when returning from break or lunch, or during an after-school activity. All first-floor windows would need to be permanently sealed to prevent someone from sneaking in a gun. I'm not even sure if fire code permits this. The cost of metal detectors is a concern in our anti-tax community, considering that the MOA bond barely passed this year, despite school security being a primary need that was cited. And I am very grateful to everybody who did vote for it, because measures have been implemented. But a guard to monitor the metal detector would cost $40,000 to $60,000 a year, depending upon the training required. There are better options for use of this funding. According to Dewey Cornell, a forensic clinical psychologist and education professor at University of Virginia, who focuses on school violence prevention, school shootings are prevented because shooters make threats. People pay attention to those threats and intervene, like SROs and school administrators, and those shootings are prevented. That view is shared by Guy Grace, Security Director for Littleton, Colorado Public Schools, which still bears the scars of the Columbine shooting. Please, let's listen to the experts. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Clinton Doris. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to remind everybody that at the beginning of this meeting, we all stood, faced a flag, said the Pledge of Allegiance, right? One of the things that stands out to me is the big word, indivisible, right? So it is us. It's us. It's us, right? All of us. So one thing I just wanted to say in general terms here, my background, I'm a former Army Ranger, spent 20 years doing counterterrorism and running a $14 billion portfolio out of the Pentagon. Accidents or incidents like we had this last week are insider threat. That is the most complicated threat to handle. A buddy of mine in the back, Jimmy, if he's still here, we'll tell you about that all day. A buddy of mine that's a SEAL. There's, I'm certain, plenty of former military folks here. In general, what we need is an integrated response, an integrated solution, right? It's not law enforcement only. It's not metal detectors only. It's not, you know, Willy Wonka only, right? We need to bring technology to bear. We need to bring law enforcement to bear. We need to bring appropriate training and training to staff and students. We need to bring an integrated mental health solution to bear, right? But all those things have to work in concert. Otherwise, they're divided, right? And we all know that we lose in a divided logic. So I just want to bring forward that logic that this needs to be an integrated solution. Reminds me of I think a famous quote from Albert Einstein. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity, right? So I think that we've heard from some fairly passionate parents here that they feel like we continue to do the same thing over and over again. I'm not saying I necessarily advocate for that, but it is time for change. And I think we have to come together, and I think I appreciate the word from the sheriff and from the school board and Dr. Tucker and even the commissioners that the time is now, we're ready to do that. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, my name is Michelle Major. I was previously a teacher, and I also currently have students in Douglas County School District. And from my perspective as a previous educator and also as a parent, I just wanted to express gratitude. This is a complex and very tragic problem, and it's persisting. And I appreciate the time that Douglas County Board of Commission, the Sheriff's Office, and also the school district has put into collaborating together, putting money initially towards funding change, because funding is definitely needed. And I appreciate the $10 million that has been made as a one-time contribution, and I hope that collaboratively you can prioritize students and teachers and continue to fund whatever is necessary in the coming months and years, as this is going to be a long process of finding new solutions to this complex problem. I just want to express my gratitude and thank you for everyone who is working together.
My name is Jennifer Thompson, and I live here in Castle Rock. Thank you. Everything you all are looking to do with school safety, with our law enforcement, anything extra you can provide immediately is very much needed, and we as parents and children need that. That's not a long-term solution. Another mom was talking about growing up military. I grew up military. My husband is now in the Air Force, and you grow up feeling very secure that way. Not our children, because we're in public schools here, off-base schools. You do feel very secure because you know everybody going on base is being checked out. Those schools are secure. Aside from that, though, growing up military, you have a very big support system. Often dads are away, now moms are away. My husband's away right now for 3 months. That is something in civilian life you do not have unless you go out and seek it. It's not a part of your life. We have 8 children. Our oldest is in the middle of college right now. Our third is getting ready to graduate right now, and our youngest is in 2nd grade. It's changed a lot from when our oldest ones were in school, when they were young. But what I see what happens is that when they're young, in school, it's really big for them to be taught about how to be good humans, how to be kind to one another. In middle school, a little bit, and by high school, that falls off completely. And I really like what this young man had said about needing clubs, that kind of thing for kids to go to. What I want to know is how can we take that a step further and make mental health and support a part of the curriculum in school. Our daughter, who's 18, 2 years ago, we had no clue that she had made a plan to end her life. And she had been self-harming for about 8 months prior to that, and we still had no clue. The only reason we found out was because one of her friends was brave enough to break her trust, go to a counselor. The counselor was actually available to talk to her,
And the counselor took immediate action to call our daughter out of class and say, what's going on? In the middle of talking to the friend and my daughter, she called me. I was on the phone with her as she called Abby out of class to come down and talk to her. I had her in a psychologist's office that afternoon. We've dealt with it. She's doing fantastic and she's thriving. But it comes down to kids being willing to step up and say, I need help. We need something where this is a daily or almost daily thing where kids are in groups that is a support group through high school for them, and preferably middle school. And, you know, I do feel like it's dealt with really well with the younger children. But something where these children can grow, and finances is always an issue. How can we do this immediately? My idea that I feel people could build on, help train teachers and take some time instead of AA or me time, homeroom, where kids basically are sitting around on their cell phones or chit-chatting with each other, so they're Snapchatting. Help those teachers turn that into a mental health time where they work on each other and they watch out for each other and they build friendships that can take them through high school and people can notice changes. And those kids actually can feel like they have a community and a support group. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Jimmy Graham. Spent a little over 15 years in the U.S. Navy SEAL teams, and then I was a GRS protective officer for the CIA. This model that we're looking for right now is not something new. So if we're starting from zero, we're already way behind. Embassies and other places overseas are professionally run every day without machine guns and grenade launchers and all that, but the threat is right outside the door. I've been working with Patrick Neville here in the state of Colorado, the House of Representatives, about what schools need to look like in the future, but that's a long-term plan. Immediately, we need to start looking at what happens when somebody walks into our schools. Yes, the mental health thing has to be addressed for a comprehensive plan, but quite frankly, whenever they walk in the door, I don't really care why they're there. They're already in the school. What do we do now? I'm also the director for the Active Shooter Response Training Center here in Centennial, Colorado. My business started 7 years ago after my last deployment to Benghazi, Libya. I started a company down the street off Park Street called Duty to Act LLC for this day, for today. We knew this was coming. We predicted that. 7 years later, last week I was at Buckley training, Colorado Health Foundations. All these places are trying to figure out how to protect their employees. Now we're talking about my kids. This is why I started this business. I have 4 small children in Douglas County, so I've got skin in this game, and I'm sick of the talk. I'm not asking for permission to do this. This is what I do every single day, minus Sundays. We train people to rise to this occasion, and it doesn't have to be law enforcement, though that's who we train. My daughter's school, the parents, the individuals are the ones that devote their time, and they've been trained and documented to a high level not to be a police officer, respectfully. I was talking to Sheriff Walcher about this, about creating a reserve SRO program to where, yes, that SRO is in that school, but they also have reserve volunteers. Unlike watchdogs, I'm not saying they're unarmed. I'm saying they are armed, and they are trained, and they're documented, and there's insurance, and there's background checks. That's where that money needs to go, is investing in the people. So I understand if you put an SRO in every school across the nation, it probably, I don't know that it would help. Why? Because if we got to think this way. If I was a bad guy, it's the first guy I would shoot. And now you're back to your response time. It just doesn't work. Do I know that the people would do this? Yes. Do I know that people that own their own companies or have flexibility in their schedule would volunteer their time? Absolutely. How do I know? Because I have 200 members on a subscription-based model that would do that. When this happened with Saul Pais, my phone was going off, where do you need me? We're not going to go gung-ho to these schools. They said, hey, when this just happened last week, should we go? Don't go there. That's our take care. Where do we need to go? Where there's no cops. My buddies in Castle Rock PD say there's 70,000 people in Castle Rock. There's 6 of them. They're like, we need help. And I agree. There's a way to train these people and say, well, we don't know, they can't train with the police officers. There is reserve police officer academies, but they're almost impossible for a guy like myself who's raising a family and who's also trying to run a business. But if we can make that more efficient with those dollars, invest in the people, and I guarantee you they'll show up. The people that I meet, they just need a mission. The vets, the former law enforcement, all that, they would show up in droves if you gave them an opportunity, and it would cost us next to nothing. Minus getting them the training and the background checks, and it would absolutely work. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Jaffer Partoma. I'm a resident of Colorado. We're talking about an issue that has multiple parts to this puzzle, and it's good to hear about putting effort into increasing SROs. It's also good to hear about putting effort into dealing with mental health, and we definitely need to increase funding for that and to get a hold of that. One of the pieces of the puzzle that I'm curious why we're not really talking about is we are not tapping into an extremely valuable resource within the community with parents and teachers and administrators and janitors who have taken it upon themselves to be concealed carry permit holders and to train themselves in order to protect themselves and their loved ones. Each individual is their own first responder. I am responsible for my own safety. I cannot leave it up to law enforcement. He can't fit in my pocket. He's not in my car. I have an issue with, we don't have anything considering a gun-free school zone. The only people who believe in a gun-free school zone are innocent, non-violent individuals like myself. We're not stopping anybody from coming in hurting our kids, and we're seeing it time and time again. We've had 20 years to come up with a solution. And what I'm proposing is we need to repeal gun-free school zones. We need to acknowledge the fact that people like myself who sit in front of my county sheriff and go in front of a face-to-face conversation, face-to-face interview, have my fingerprints, I'm not at risk of anybody. But there are people within our community who think that merely having a firearm on me makes me a dangerous individual, and I resent that. I resent that completely. I have to make a decision between whether I protect myself or I go attend my daughter's orchestra recital. And I don't think that's appropriate. We're talking about resource officers. I don't know how many resource officers we can have in a school of 3,000 students. I mean, you have 20 resource officers, they're still not going to get to the right corridor within time to protect everybody. But if we allow janitors and we allow schools, I'm not asking to force anybody to carry something they don't want to carry, but plenty of us already are concealed carry permit holders. I have been carrying a firearm on myself for 6,000 days without incident. So I don't appreciate when people come and downplay the resource that we have available within the community itself. My encouragement, again, is to repeal gun-free school zones. I would like to encourage citizens to go get their concealed carry permit. That will allay fears of people having firearms without having gone through a background check, which, by the way, every single firearm purchase requires a background check. Even at the gun shows, there's no such thing as a gun show loophole for some of those among us who believe that exists. My purpose is to make sure that we don't have another incident like this again. Each individual is responsible for their own safety. We need to permit them and allow them the ability to take that responsibility. Thank you very much.
My name is Paul Erickson. I live in Larkspur. I'm a father of 6 kids, former FBI agent as well. I think the prior speaker made some very valid points, and I second those comments. I'd like to note that we often protect banks with armed security personnel. We often protect courthouses with armed security personnel. We protect airports with armed security personnel. We protect concert venues and sporting areas with armed personnel. And we often protect schools with armed personnel. Oh, wait a minute. No, we don't. We don't protect them. We put in buzzers. We put in access control, sign in, sign out, put in lots of cameras, spend lots of money. When push comes to shove, what are we doing? It's kind of like insanity. We tell people, go and hide, kids, go and hide. This is not providing security. It's not providing safety. It's insanity. So we need to do some things that are common sense. When push comes to shove, we need armed people in the schools. And I don't think we should hesitate to take that step. Douglas County is a leading county in the country. We're recognized for our health, for our wealth. We're a good place to live. We have a leadership role at the national level. I think the commissioners should accept that leadership role and look at this seriously and take a leadership role. Everybody's hesitant to take a step. Schools have been unarmed for years and years and years, and it's not working. People still come there. I think we need to take the step forward. You can put in a lot of counselors, you can put in a lot of mental health, but you can't cancel your way to safety. There are always going to be a couple people that are nutsos, and you got to have some protection at that point. So I would like to take the majority of this $10 million, put it towards SROs, armed people, you know, volunteers or teachers that want to be trained. There's nothing wrong. I carry all the time as well. There's nothing wrong with carrying. There's nothing wrong with having a firearm near the school. It's not. It should be a good thing to have. Speaking outside the box, it's taken us 10, 20, 30, 40 years to say, oh, I'm not going to show the shooter's name. I'm not going to show his picture. But we still talk about Columbine. We still talk about Sandy Hook. We still talk about the Aurora Theater. I would counsel the media to stop talking about these events. You notarize them, you give them publicity. It's a bad situation. Also thinking outside the box, law enforcement, the press conferences where the mayor, the FBI speak up. We're sorry about the thoughts and prayers to everybody. First responders did such a good job. It's kind of a tired situation. The opportunity exists at that point, though, to speak to the problem. The problem is not the parents or the first responders. The problems are the shooters. The next shooter is out there. The next shooter is watching the TV. So if Sheriff Spurlock or President Trump or Obama could speak to the next shooter, say, hey, look, we know there's troubled teens out there. You might be one of those people. You might not fit in. You might be ready to go berserk. You might be a vet that came back and you lost your way and you have access to guns and you have a fascination of doing something next. Or you might be an ex-employee. You're thinking you got fired and you want to take retribution. We want to talk to you. Come and talk to us. Don't wait and hold it in. Open up the communications. People will talk. You just have to invite them in to talk to you. We have like a poison control hotline. We have a suicide hotline. Why is there not like a potential shooter hotline? If you really think you're going to go berserk, call this hotline. You can turn in your guns voluntarily. We'll keep them for a year. We'll get you some counseling. We'll get you some help. A lot of these kids take their guns from their parents. And I think people that we just saw in this last shooting, I think you could recognize they're a problem situation. Those parents had guns at the home. I think rather than just waiting for it to explode, the people, counselors, the sheriffs, they could go to these people and say, look, hey, we'll give you $500 for a safe to lock up your guns. Your kids won't get access to them. Rather than putting up signs and slogans and feel-good things, do some concrete steps to take care of the guns that those kids have access to. And thank you very much.
Lucky guy. Real quick, my name is RJ O'Connor. I'm a Parker resident, have 2 kids in the school district. And I'll be quick about it because I'm going to have to go pick them up from school here shortly. I didn't have anything prepared for this. And listening to everything that was said here today and what has been said over the last week, let alone over the last 20 years. First off, I think the SRO program is a great start. I think the school marshal program is a great resource, and I don't think it gets enough play. And I want to center this around fear. There's a lot of fear when we talk about this subject. Parents and kids are in fear that every day their kids go to school now, something's going to happen. Kids shouldn't be fearing that they're going to be shot when they walk into school. They should be fearing their parents that they're getting a D in science. And so over the last 20 years, and another fear of mine is that people think throwing money at this problem is going to fix it. 2017, almost $3 billion was spent in this country on school security. Since Columbine, 750 kids have been shot or killed in this country. It's not working. I don't know what needs to be said or what needs to happen before people get that. These guys can't be there all the time. That's the reality. So what are we going to do? Fear is driving policy, it's driving actions, and it's not working. It's clouding judgment. It is time for those of us who want to be involved in a fix to turn that fear on its head and make these animals start to fear what they want to do if they're thinking about going to a school. They need to be fearful that if they want to perpetrate an action, there's going to be somebody there who is going to prevent that from happening. Is it an SRO? Is it one of Sheriff Tony's guys? Possibly. Is it a Marshall, Parker PD? God bless Parker PD, I love those guys. Anyway. Or is it going to be a parent, or like that gentleman who spent time in the SEALs, who organizes one of our greatest resources, as stated before, parents. We talk about what a great resource our teachers are. We have awesome teachers. I happen to know more than a dozen teachers right now that if they had the ability to carry their weapon in school, they would do it. And they would gladly lay down their lives for a kid in their class or in their school. Not because of anything other than they love their kids. We all talk about loving our kids, but yet they walk into the softest target we have in this country. So we can talk about mental health. Absolutely. Don't disagree with that. We can talk about SROs. No problem with that. But we have spent billions and we aren't fixing the problem. And there are a ton of parents, there are a ton of school teachers, there are staff in these schools who are willing to step up and do the job if needed. And I know the phrase is a cliche and it's almost tough to listen to, but when seconds matter, the cops are only minutes away. And it sounds shallow and all of that, but it's the truth. Even Sheriff Tony's guys were 2 minutes away from that school. We had 7 kids shot and one of them's dead. God rest his soul. 2 minutes didn't matter, seconds did. And so I just would encourage people to get over the fear of weapons and start using them as a tool rather than a weapon against ourselves. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Good job there, Sheriff Tony.
Hi, my name is Stacy Spurlock, and I'm a 21-year resident of Douglas County. And I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. And I can tell you, Abe, that your comments today were most appreciated. As a citizen of this county, I can tell you that we're tired of hearing what could have and should have and would have happened. We want to see what is going to happen. We want to see some action. My good friend Marsha Brockler attended that meeting 8 days before the STEM school shooting. We support Keep Our Douglas County Schools Safe. They have put together a lot of good ideas, and I encourage and echo the things that were said earlier by Corey Nelson, also the efforts of Bill Sparkman in putting something together. And I would encourage, when you do have this meeting on May 28th, that you have it at a time so that working parents can attend, because the people are the ones that put you up there, and you need to listen to those people about the ideas that are going to be most effective for school safety. I would also like to echo the comments of Dr. Tucker when he said that this isn't about political affiliation. This is about what's best for the community and the students and the parents. I would really appreciate all of your work and all of your efforts that you've done thus far, but it's not done yet. Thank you so much for listening to me as a citizen. I appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Boyer. I live in Highlands Ranch. I have a student at Thunder Ridge and a student at Ranch View Middle School. I wasn't planning to speak. I don't have anything prepared. I just wanted to ask that whatever comes out of this and whatever you decide to do be backed up by research. I've heard mention of feeling safe. There is value in feeling safe, but actually being safe has a lot more value. And it's apparent from a lot of the comments that different things make different people feel safe. I want to make sure that whatever is decided on and whatever you spend our money on actually makes us safer. I also don't want to sit down before I point out that I believe STEM had 1,800 students, has 1,800 students. Many of those would be grades K through 6, so the population grades 8 through 12 is pretty small, and they had one armed security guard per 1,800 students, which is pretty close to the ratio that I heard that was suggested, and this is what we have. Yeah, just please base this on something other than what makes people feel safe. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Anna Keeson. I'm 18 years old and I go to Douglas County High School. I am a senior. I don't have a lot of answers and I don't know a lot, but I just wanted to share my experience as a student, and especially with everything that's happened at STEM recently. The summer after my freshman year, I lost touch with one of my closest friends. She was very nice to me, one of my first friends in high school. We worked on a lot of projects together. She went to a different school, and we just kind of lost touch over the summer, like people do. I recently got in touch with her again after I contacted her over social media to make sure she was okay, because she was one of the students in the STEM shooting. She wasn't hurt, thankfully, but she was there along with about 4 or 5 other students that I knew that I'd met through her. And so this has been a very tough thing for me and a lot of students. And I know with speaking to friends that a lot of us don't feel safe at school. Many of us don't feel safe knowing that anyone who remotely looks like a student, anyone that carries a backpack, or anyone who could just walk in could be potentially there to hurt us. That there are several entrances and doors throughout the buildings. We have 2 buildings. The main entrances are always looked after, and there's always a guard there, and there's always a guard at the entrances between the 2 buildings. But there are tens of other doors between gyms, between hallways that aren't guarded, that go outside, that many kids open just to anyone who knocks. Kids will go up there, open them, and they just walk on in. And that's something I know that makes a lot of us not feel safe. The safest part of our school is the library, because it's the only place where we are required to show an ID to enter. It is the place where I spend most of my time, the place where I feel the safe. A few days after the STEM shooting, there was a threat to Douglas County High School. I am currently done with school as a senior, but I have a sister who's a junior. I had to go pick her up from school because of the threats that were made. A lot of other parents came to pick up their kids. I went to pick up my sister. Our senior assembly and field day was canceled because of these threats. I just want to know, as well as many of my other classmates, why we're not being taught a lot of things regarding mental health. Why in middle school we were taught some about what to do in stressful situations, but when we get to high school, which is one of the most stressful times in our lives, why we aren't taught what to do when we get overstressed at school, what to do if our friend is in a mental crisis, what to do when everything seems to fall apart. And that's something I really want to change in our schools. And I just want to see more counseling, more teaching, and more things where us students can go. And because it is scary to talk to someone, like I'm scared right now talking to you guys, but I just want more people to come to us and teach us. So thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Sean Duffy. I live in Highlands Ranch, and I'm a dad of a 2nd grader in Douglas County Public Schools, or as he would say, Dad, in 11 days, I'm a 3rd grader. I want to say thank you and please. I'm here to say thank you to the commissioners, to the sheriff, to our school district leaders for coming together so quickly. It's almost unheard of for government to come together less than a week after a tragedy and start to find a solution. And I want to thank you for the $10 million. I think that's an incredible gesture to help my son and the 68,000 other kids. But I also want to say please to everybody to please act with some sense of alacrity with this $10 million, to not have multiple months of telling us what we can't do, that we need to study, study, study. As Jimmy Graham said, we know the studies have been done. We know what can work. We're a smart county. We're blessed with so much talent, so much energy, so much passion that we've heard here today. My sense is we've got a summer, we've got till the middle of August till the kids come back. That's our time. And I, for one, am just one citizen and one dad, but I'm happy to help any way I can to move this along. But my pleas is, please don't have our schools reopen in August with more of the same rhetoric, same stuff, the same what we can't do. I, for one, want to know my son is safer in August of 2019 than he was in May of 2019. So thank you for the 10 million. Thank you all for acting so quickly, but please let's make this place safer in August than it was in May. Thank you all very much.
Hi, my name is Dan Smith. I don't have any prepared comments, so I apologize if this is a little stream of conscious, but I live right behind an elementary school. I have 2 young children, both of them go to school there. I look out my window and I see the school behind me. You know, when I was first having kids here 10 years ago, it didn't occur to me. I knew it was going to be a fearful journey. I didn't realize I was going to get scared looking at the facility where my kids live. It's the new normal in Douglas County. The fear is a big part of the problem. I encourage you all I applaud you all for taking steps to move quickly, to move decisively on this one. I'd encourage us to make sure that we're spending the money for long-term solutions. If we use money to buy metal detectors, a metal detector doesn't do much good if it's not manned and staffed. It only provides marginal value if there's not an armed guard there to make sure that the metal detector is backed up. As others have said, all it takes is just a crushed aluminum can propped in a door for a kid to get out and slip back in a minute or 2. The other thing that I wanted to say was I want to make sure that we focus not just on school safety, because this isn't just about school safety. That's the trauma that's echoing with all of us right now, and that's what we're thinking about. If we take all that money and pour it into hardening the schools, it'll make the schools safer. It'll also probably just redirect would-be shooters, whatever their motivations are, to soccer games, to swimming pools, to rec centers. Unless as a country we're prepared to lock down the whole country and live in a state of extreme security, aggressive mental health has got to be a huge piece of this. That's not just waiting for kids to be deemed in need of mental health services. It's about mental wellness for all the kids out there. Thank you all very much for your time. Look forward to hearing what you all are going to be able to do going forward.
I'll keep this short because I'm probably all feeling it's gone on a little longer than we'd hoped for. But my name is Scott Polson. I live 1.8 miles from the STEM school. Try to keep it straight here. I had a cousin in Columbine. My son was in the sister school of Arapahoe. The Arapahoe shooter's from Highlands Ranch. His locker mate was my neighbor's grandson's locker mate. I was involved in I was a project manager for Littleton Public Schools school bond program in 2000, where some of these security issues design-wise were addressed and discussed. So I know a little bit about these things and have personal emotions toward them. What I'm kind of sad to hear here is it feels like we're treating symptoms, and we all want to feel better and come to a solution, but I feel like we're triaging symptoms and not getting to the core of the problem. And I'm not saying guns in or out of the school is the solution or the problem, or mental health. I like to think that, you know, we are a fine community here in Douglas County, but I think we need to address the problem, and that's we're getting too divisive as a nation and as a community. Highlands Ranch, I'm sorry to say I can't remember when our commissioners last came there. So I'm hoping this is the beginning of a dialogue to have town halls and try to gain a sense of community. I think our sheriff does a great job. I've met him in street clothes going to the library, talked to him, he's approachable. But, you know, we need to get law enforcement inside of the schools and outside of the schools that are just part of neighborhood community relations. But again, I hope this is a start of dialogue. I hope that we can get some experts and get some, real solutions. I'm afraid, having lived in Los Angeles, where the way you picked your school is you picked a school that didn't have the metal detectors and the big tall fences around it because you felt like you were in a safer neighborhood there. So I don't know what that means, but I think we need to find the problem and not just put temporary Band-Aids and think we're solving things here. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in Highlands Ranch soon.
Hi, I'm Jane Norris Winton, and I have a 6-year-old at North Star Academy. We moved here just over a year ago from Los Angeles, and while I'll respectfully disagree with the gentleman prior to me, we moved here at short notice. My husband's job transferred us here, and we had to move rather quickly. My daughter was enrolled in kindergarten in LA, and I picked a private school with on-site security, metal detectors, solid mental health program, behavior specialists on site. So I didn't shy away from everything he said. That's where I went to because I wanted my child, and it was a lovely, beautiful, affluent neighborhood. And I wanted to protect my child. And in today's day and age, that's what we need to do. Right now, I'm sorry, I'm shaking. Right now, an active shooter could walk into my child's school. Every day I drop her off, hug her, kiss her, pray that she is safe. Because when I came here and was looking at schools to enroll my daughter in, my husband and I were going to a whole bunch of different schools. And do they have buzzers, and do you need to be buzzed in? Yes. But every time I buzzed in, they let me in. Every time my husband buzzed in, I know I'm not intimidating, but even my husband, when he is a big guy and he would buzz the door, they would let him in. So, yes, I feel like we need to focus on the mental health and all the measures inside. I think that we also need to prevent the guns from getting inside. Because right now, it could be happening anywhere. The next active shooter is out there, and I don't want it to be in our schools. So we need to not only do the mental health and have the security from the sheriff's department, but we need metal detectors to prevent guns from getting inside our schools. Is it going to be the answer and prevent absolutely everything? Probably not. But is it going to be a deterrent and protect our kids? I believe so. Right now, we have metal detectors at the airport. We have metal detectors to walk into an Amazon store at the mall. We lock our doors at night. We put our children in car seats, appropriate car seats. We keep, reading about the car seats. Okay, well, now they're ready for the next one. All because we want to protect them and keep them safe should something happen. So we're doing all this protection for our children in case something happens. So metal detectors need to be there to protect our kids in case our school is targeted again. So again, right now, an active shooter could be walking into any of our schools. I know you have a meeting on May 28th, and then probably more and more meetings after that. But it has to happen now. All these parents all over Facebook and part of all these groups are terrified. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to homeschool, and just terrified every day dropping off their child. So please, please take action quick as soon as you can so that we can feel safe and our kids can feel safe, please. And I want to thank you guys and you guys and you guys, because this is so important for all of us to be able to come here and express ourselves, because I know you guys are probably parents and grandparents too, but with a small young child in the school system, it's terrifying. And I am so glad to be able to be here and speak with you guys. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Joellen Camden. I've lived in this community a very long time. We're pushing 30 years. I'm wearing a Columbine pin. I don't want to glorify what's happened, but I want to recognize what's happened. My daughter was 4 years old in a Douglas County preschool when this happened. So I can appreciate the young parents today who are still scared to death. It hasn't changed. And I need to see change. We all need to see change. I thank you guys for immediately coming up with monies to find resolution, to find answers. I appreciate you guys for being here and protecting everybody and your response. And things have changed, but they haven't changed enough. And the board, I think this is a point where everybody needs to work together, where all the separations and the arguments and the fighting and the belittling has to stop, because we as adults are doing it and the children see it. And that's what we're teaching them. Just a quick rundown. I think about my 24-year-old wanted to be here, but she is in a graduate program to become a leader in education. And I look back and I wonder why. Because at 4 years old, Columbine happened. We lost 4 children from our parish. She was witness to that. 9/11 happened when she was 7. The world changed. It is not the world I was bringing my child into. I became afraid to let my daughter go to a movie here in Colorado. My daughter lost a classmate at Arapahoe High School. Now we've lost Kendrick. And we need to find answers. We need to stop politicking, this side, that side. It doesn't work. We need to be community. We need to teach our children community. And while I thank you guys immensely for the monies, I'm going to beg for you to have an ongoing money source. And money is not necessarily the answer, but it's a help. I don't want any more lives taken. I want children to be able to go to school once again and have fun and be happy and learn and have dreams and come back to Douglas County and be teachers and lawyers and police officers and firefighters and governmental people. I don't want any more of this to be in vain. So I hope you will all consider the grave need. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Amy Ross, and I live in Highlands Ranch. And on the day of the stem cell shooting, I accidentally got caught up in the aftermath of that. And I finally saw myself because my husband texted me an image of myself on television during at Northridge. And that was pretty traumatic to see myself in something that I had hoped from the day that we moved to Douglas County, that my husband and I, the day that my husband and I moved to Douglas County, that would not be my situation ever. So to have that realized was quite traumatic. And then experiencing what went on in the Northridge Rec Center, it felt like it was a process that was normalized. And the reason that I feared that would be my outcome by moving here is because I was a teacher in Douglas County. And I was a teacher for 1 year, and that was about enough. The former Board of Education was not keeping up with the change in, or the former Board of Douglas Schools District was not keeping up with the change in pace and lifestyle across our country. We had a half-time psychologist, we had a half-time counselor. So those two people were crucial in one of the most needs-based school
to have both of those half-time. So if you'd like to really know where your money will be best spent, I would encourage you to hear more from teachers, because teachers are the ones who are turning away from those jobs, and they're having a difficult time, and they're having lots of conversations, including discussing whether the secretary has the right to have a gun to protect the rest of the school, which I do not agree with. The other point that I would like to make is that there is a severe case of bullying going on with adults, and so naturally, with adults in Douglas County. All you have to do is look at any Facebook page, whether it is deemed non-political or not, you will find bullying going on throughout the pages. People are tearing each other apart in this community, and I think that your money would be well spent to bring in a big program to address the bullying, because it is going on with adults, and it's only natural for kids to pick up on that and to learn that habit themselves. So a point in case is, I went to a meeting last year around election season, and I heard politicians accusing other school board members, the school board members, of extorting them. And those type of words get thrown around in public places and in hidden places, and it really needs to stop. And I think that all of that is contributing to our problem, and that is the mental health part of it that we need to address. All these, I used to teach in the Baltimore area, and I felt safer there. There were no metal detectors in the schools that I taught in. So I don't see that as being helpful at all. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Jessica Broadbent. I live in Parker. I have 3 children at the elementary, middle school, and high school level. I'm from Florida. I just moved up here about 2 years ago, and I can emphatically say that even being from Florida, with all the crazy news you hear down there, I'm scared to send my kids to school. That's not okay. I have a 9-year-old who we did a protest outside of Douglas County School Board on Friday, and her sign read, "I'm 9, stop shooting at me." That's not okay. What is even more not okay is the fact that we're sitting here talking about it instead of doing something. And I do appreciate the ability to come in here and talk, because that's honestly all I was really advocating for, is some honest, straightforward communication so that we can figure out how to protect our children. I also work in the mental health field, and I will emphatically say that every kid that I talk to, that I strongly encourage to go to their school faculty members about the bullying, the relentless bullying that they're receiving, are placated. They're not being addressed. They're being dismissed. They're being told it'll get better. It doesn't. I see kids that want to kill themselves every single day at work. I see kids that feel like they want to kill other people every single day at work. The difference is they had the guts to say something, or somebody else said something. We don't make it safe for people to speak up. We don't promote it because it's our dirty laundry. We need to make sure that we are transparent with our children. Set a good example, as the last speaker mentioned. Stop bullying each other. This isn't about politics. This is a human right issue. We all have the right to live. Our children, it takes a village, right? Our village is failing us. Our school systems are failing us. I wish I had the ability to homeschool. I wish I did, but unfortunately my husband and I both have to work full-time jobs. So that's not an option for me. But it does scare me. I think to myself, Douglas County, when I moved here, some of the best school system, and it's touted to be, that you want a good education, you said you're a kid to Douglas County. But Douglas County has the most school shootings. We're doing nothing. So we have to do something. Starts at the ground level. Metal detectors, what a wonderful idea. Is it a solve-all? Not at all. But I also strongly encourage regulations to be put into place to hold schools accountable for the bullying that is reported and not done anything about. There was a letter that was circulated around about STEM back in December, receiving very large laundry list of things that they're not holding accountable, they're not addressing with these kids. And since then, since I shared that, I have had people come from everywhere telling me this is true. Somebody needs to hold our schools accountable for not only keeping our kids safe, but being accountable and stop sweeping our dirty laundry underneath the rug. If there are kids being bullied, do something about it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lori Brunner. I am a citizen of Douglas County. I also am a servant of Douglas County. We've spoke before in the past. And there's been a lot of talks of different things that we can do. Obviously, SROs is one of the main things that's being discussed about, obviously, other than more target hardening stuff of metal detectors and things of those natures. I just want to remind everybody in the audience or anybody that's listening, the SROs do so much more than just a gun walking around. They are part of that school community. They are friends. They are family. That school, those students, that is part of their heart and their soul. And I'm just going to take a second because I was just talking to a lady in the audience and she's like, hey, my kid goes to one of your schools and I think my SRO is his best friend. That's what an SRO does. It's so much more than just a walking gun. Yes, we're going to go to battle if there's anything that happens. I implore anybody that has any questions about what the SROs do us, to talk to us. I've been willing to let you come and see what some of us do. They know their students. They sit there, and unfortunately we had a student here that was talking about a rumor that was going around about a high school. We had a couple of those. The SROs work diligently with the school administration to track down where those rumors began. Are they true? Can we put that rumor to rest so those kids feel safe? We also go in and we talk about things like, cyberbullying, how to be appropriate, how to treat each other. What is dating violence? We even talk about something like that. We go to those classrooms and we talk about different things. So yes, we are a form of security, but we're also a form of education that allows our kids to know where to come, how to be appropriate. We've had kids that come in and come to us and they weren't afraid to come to the SROs because they had built that relationship. We've had counselors come to the SRO and says, I can't get this kid to talk to me. I know there's something wrong. What's going on? Where that kid, because they know that the SRO is there, they built that relationship with them. They were able to get the student to open up what was going on with their life. That was a life saved. I could tell you earlier this year, we had a student that went to a school that was in a car, broken down, emotional, wouldn't do anything. A friend came in, got the SRO, and says, I can't get her in there, something's going on. The SRO was able to finally get her calmed down, get her to the counselor's office, find out what was going on. And that kid had to be M1. I'm telling you, 9 months later now, she's stronger, she's healthier, and she's here, and she goes, thank you guys for everything you do. That is one of the many things that SROs do. We need to be able to be in a position to be proactive. I love my team, I love the SROs, but as the sheriff already said earlier, when you have one SRO for over 3,000 students, 2 separate buildings, that puts them in a reactive situation. It pulls them away from their main priority, which is being a member of that community. When we become reactive, that means we're going from call to call, and we're not giving the student body the resources that they need. I know my time is up, but I just want to say thank you for your time.
Commissioners, it's good to be here. I'm usually used to being on the other side. I have a unique perspective, having served on the Board of County Commissioners as well as on the Board of Education. There are a lot of statistics when I was on the Board of Education that stuck in my mind then, continued out through while I was parenting, and stuck in my mind now with the tragedies that occurred. 4 adults. Every child needs 4 adults that they safely can go speak to if they're in a time of trouble. And I think what we're talking about is a community issue. And when you define community, there's school community, there's neighborhood community, there's a broader community, and also goes to the broader society issues that we're dealing with in this country. There is a lot of hostility on Facebook. I've stopped looking at Facebook because it promotes hostility, stress, anxiety into the psyche of our society. That's a systemic problem across all aspects of what we deal with. Adults need to model the behavior that children should learn. I don't see that happening. I see adults behaving very badly. I think our SRO program is fabulous. I think a lot of the SROs, when they connect with kids, it's really important for the adults in the schools and the systems and the adults in children's lives to recognize when a child is struggling and help them get the help. We need to slow down and we need to look at prevention. When the SROs are needed, when somebody needs to pull that weapon out to defend the kids, if it gets to that point, in some ways we failed because somebody fell through the cracks. There's also another inherent problem that I recognized, and it was when the Arapahoe High School shooting occurred. We have accountability, and this is to no fault of schools, individual schools, but the bottom line is it is inherent in the school accountability and reporting system that makes a school look bad when they have to report bullying or any violence or any legal actions that have occurred within that school. So you have a system that's set up to where schools are reluctant to report those things, reluctant to act on those things, because then it makes their school look like it's an unsafe school, therefore parents won't want to bring their kids to the school. It's a natural tendency for people to react that way. And that's something that goes to the state level, that I think there's some changes that need to be done at the state level that creates incentives for schools to address these problems and not sweep it under the rug, and be willing to air the dirty laundry so you can face these issues and create a system to where you're actually rewarded for helping the kids who are having trouble, rather than scored negatively upon the school if their school has any problems. It's a very multifaceted issue. I think it was wonderful. A lot of the comments that the community came and brought forward, especially the kids. The kids know what goes on the ground. They know what the problems are, they know where the gaps are, and they know where a lot of the solutions are. But it's a multifaceted issue. There's no one size fits all. And I applaud the efforts that you all are committing to in solving some of these problems. And I want to thank the school board, Board of Education. It's a lot of work, very rewarding, but it's a lot of work and it's very difficult. And welcome the new superintendent. We have to work together on this, very much so. So anyway, thank you. Sorry for the voice. I think I got it.
Enough.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth West, and I live here in this Douglas County. I grew up here. I went to school here and graduated. It's been a real privilege and very instructive to hear neighbors, community members speak today. I deliberately wanted to come here to, one, show my support for what you're trying to do. You have my trust. You have my prayers. I really applaud you. I know you're working hard. And I know you're really trying to do the right thing. Our Sheriff's Department, you have my prayers as well and my support, and also our school. I guess there's one element that I don't see here today, and maybe that's just an omission today, but I'm wondering where the faith-based leadership is in all of what we're talking about. I'm wondering if the school district is willing to talk with faith leaders. And you probably have some interaction as well with faith leaders. So I just want to get that into the public record, how important that might be. That may be a turnoff for some neighbors of mine, and that's fine. But I do think it's real key, because our world has changed. Our society has changed. I have a 24-year-old son, and I can't believe how quickly our world has changed, our society and so forth. And he's shocked. He graduated from Rock Canyon High School just in 2013, and how things have changed so much. So I do hope that as you're going through the next couple of weeks in advance of your meeting and what you want to do with this $10 million, there's some very good things that I saw in here, but there were some things that raised some questions for me about how to utilize that to 10 million, and let alone doing something where you put something into perpetuity. And maybe it's just because I don't understand the whole budget system, how much is in the sheriff's budget already, how much is in the school district budget already. Are there places where we can trim? Are there places where we can kind of cut back or just reallocate? So, but again, I trust you all. I know you. You have my prayers. You have a lot of support in the community, and I know you're going to do the right thing. Thank you.
Let me just say, Miss West, Mike Behemoth, the head pastor from the Rock Church, is right behind you, and we had a 3:30 today. So we are actively engaging our faith-based partners as well, but thank you. Yes, thanks for your comments, sure.
Hi there. My name is Stephanie. I live in Castle Pines. I'm a very concerned parent of a third grader and a second grader that go to Lone Tree Elementary. They have been basically traumatized by what has happened in the last few weeks. As a parent, I've been trying to have an open line of communication to be able to focus on what we can do because so much is out of our control as parents. I never ever in a million years would have thought I would be having the conversations that I've had with my kids. So therefore, I just appreciate what everybody has said today. I do echo the statements that it's a multifaceted issue, which you already are well aware of. And I do appreciate the things that all of you have already done for us. I just feel that there needs to be a lot more done. It's just not enough. I have been contacting legislators by email and phone calls ever since Sandy Hook. Children are very important to me. I have dedicated my entire career to working with children. I have worked in pediatrics for over 12 years. I did emergency room rotations. I've seen a lot. I just want to say that children are our future, as we are all well aware. And I just feel like we haven't served them well. We moved to Douglas County because we believed that it was a very safe place. We still feel that it's a safe place, but we feel that, my husband and I feel that there are a few individuals that have kind of robbed us all of feeling 100% safe in this community. It saddens me. It makes me feel very hurt, very afraid. I go to school. I graduate next week as a nursing student. I, again, want to work as a pediatric nurse. And I just feel that we just need to do much, much more for our community, for our kids. I do appreciate all that we have done and all that we continue to do. I did have a brainstorming session with my husband the other night, and I said, you know, if it's resources, if it's more money that we need, you know, to be able to say we're going to be able to dedicate an entire team of what you all have spoken about, I am all in 100% support of that. We did talk about, you know, going further. Since so much has happened in our state of Colorado, we need to just be able to take it back. We do think about the marijuana tax and how many millions of dollars that is generating for our state. And even if we were to be able to take 20% of that, we would be able to utilize that as an ongoing effort, because I do appreciate the 10 million. I'm incredibly impressed that you all have that amount of money, but I do feel that it needs to be more. And so if there was even just a way, I know that there's probably a lot of red tape that I'm unaware of, but I think that it would be really served well to be able to come together as a team approach, be able to talk about these issues, what the needs are in the school. My own school that I attend has one security guard, and I'm in Aurora. I go to school in Aurora, and I pass the movie theater every day on the way to school, and I think about it, and I think, gosh, we're all unsafe here. And I'm an adult, so I can only imagine how all of these kids feel on a day-to-day basis going to school. So I appreciate your time. I thank you very much. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Derek. I live in Parker. And I'd just like to say ditto. You've had a lot of very educated, very intelligent subject matter experts come and give you some very good ideas. I have a prepared presentation, but I think everything's been said. I think some of the most important points that you should take away from this is relying on your community in a number of ways, not just for ideas, but for support and for manpower, for intelligence, for depth of experience, for ability, and for a community to come together. That community can't just pick and choose what parts of the community they'd like to utilize. It has to be the entire community. A couple other points that I'd like to make here. Pardon me. I think that police officers as SROs in every school is a great idea. It's an idea that's long overdue, but it's a start. The metal detectors, okay, we get it. They're at the airport, but it's security theater, really. Like one gentleman pointed out, it takes a crushed aluminum can and a propped open door to defeat that idea, or a shooter to come in and shoot the person behind the metal detector. You're throwing your money away there, I think. Or it may be a feel-good solution, but it really isn't the safest option. As I said, having the SROs in the schools are a good idea. You can back that up with the community, with the watchdog dads, with ex-military, current military, retired police officers, trained citizens, specially trained citizens, like the program in Texas. All those are very good ideas. And as one person previously said, the only thing that's going to, is the FBI agent, I believe. The only thing that's going to stop a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. That's unfortunately the reality of the situation. Metal detectors really aren't going to deal with that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your alacrity and promptness with which you've brought this meeting together. It's laudable. I hope you deliberate very carefully as to what you use that money for, and if you decide, or how you decide, to allocate money in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, I see no one else moving towards the mic. So I'm just going to say a couple of things just to wrap us up. I appreciate everybody coming, everybody listening. It was obviously, passion was in everyone's hearts. I think there's certainly a lot of things that we, the commissioners, heard, school district, the sheriff's office, all of us heard, and I don't think there's anything that was really disagreeable that anybody heard. But it's that we all know there's something to be done, and that's why all of us are here. That's why all of us take that interest. And I really believe, I heard it from someone, we do have a safe community, but that does not mean it can't be safer. Unfortunately, there's always somebody out there that is wishing or willing to do harm, but all the efforts that we have seen have really kept us the community that we are. And I feel very confident that we will continue to be that great community. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, and God bless you all.